It's Wednesday, December 7th. Welcome to Pastor Bob Daly. I have a really important message to bring you today. I hope you'll listen the whole 5 minutes because I think this is kind of at the foundation of our faith. You know, I get so much mail from people saying, I feel like I'm losing my faith. I can't seem to hear God anymore. I feel like I'm losing the battle with sin in my life. Dane from my Facebook friends asked me this question about music. He says, if there's lyrics that have swearing, but not using the Lord's name in vain, is it still wrong to listen to them? And that's a great question, Dane. And it's one that a lot of us ask, not just about music, but almost anything. What about sin? How much can I get away with and still be a Christian? Interesting question, isn't it? Romans chapter 6 is where I'd like to go today, and I want to spend a little bit of time here. So I want you just to kick back. You can see the verses scroll on the screen here as we go, and I'd like you to listen to this. Romans chapter 6, starting with verse 6, he says, could it be any clearer? Our old way of life was nailed to the cross with Christ, a decisive end to that sin-miserable life. No longer at sin's every beck and call. He says, what we believe is this. If we get included in Christ's sin-conquering death, we also get included in his life-saving resurrection. Now we know that when Jesus was raised from the dead, it was a signal of the end of death as the end. Never again will death have the last word. When Jesus died, he took sin down with him, but alive he brings God down to us. From now on, think of it this way. Sin speaks a dead language. That means nothing to you. God speaks your mother language, and you hang on every word. You are dead to sin and alive to God. That's what Jesus did. Now, we all know that positionally. We all know that in our heads. But I think sometimes we don't exactly get it in our hearts and in the way that we live. That's what verse 12 talks about. It says that means you must not give sin a vote in the way you conduct your lives. Don't give it the time of day. Don't even run little errands that are connected with that old way of life. Throw yourselves wholeheartedly and full-time. Remember, you've been raised from the dead into God's way of doing things. Sin can't tell you how to live. After all, you're not living under that old tyranny any longer. You're living in the freedom of God. So, one thing about freedom, folks, is that we really are free to do anything. Or is that the case? That's what he says in verse 15. So, since we're out from under the old tyranny, does that mean we can live any way we want to? Since we're free in the freedom of God, can we do anything that comes to mind? Hardly. You know well enough from your own experience that there are some acts of so-called freedom that destroy freedom. Offer yourselves to sin, for instance, and it's your last free act. But offer yourselves to the way of God, and the freedom never quits. All your lives you've let sin tell you what to do, but thank God you've started listening to a new master, one whose commands set you free to live openly in his freedom. Do you see what he's saying? When you choose to be free in God and choose his standards, the freedom continues. When you choose sin, freedom stops. You're not free anymore. You're in bondage to sin. God says he wants you to be truly free. That's why he died on the cross. So you see, it isn't how close can I get to the edge without dropping off? How much can I sin and still be a Christian? That's not our question. The question is, I decided to be free when I became a Christian. I desire to be free in my heart, and so I need to make decisions that lead me in that direction instead. I hope that helps. God bless you. Have a great day.